Sean Payton has gone on record talking about everything pretty much that he's had to fix from last season. I think he had a chance to talk to Jared Bell of USA Today, and he's had some comments, and they're starting to circulate today. The words of Sean Payton. This is the quote from Sean Payton speaking to Jared Bell. Oh, man, there's so much dirt around that. There's 20 dirty hands for what was tolerated in this freaking these training rooms, the meeting rooms, the offense. I don't know, Hackett. A lot of people had dirt on their hands. It wasn't just Russell. He didn't just flip. He still has it. This BS that he hit a wall, shoot, they couldn't get a play in. They were 29th in the league in pre-snap penalties on both sides of the ball. But everybody's got a little stink on their hands. It's not just Russell. It was a poor offensive line.
I think we know what he said there.
It might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the National Football League. That's how bad it was. Whew.
Some truth to those statements, right?
We got one more. Oh, he's not done
He's
yet.
not done yet.
Here we go.
Oh.
It doesn't happen often where an NFL team or organization gets embarrassed, and that happened here. Part of it was their own fault relative to spending so much money or expletive, whatever, time trying to win the offseason, the PR, the pomp and circumstance, Jets, marching people around and all this stuff. We're not doing any of that. The Jets did that this year. You watch. Hard Knocks, all of it. I can see it coming. Remember when Dan Snyder put the dream team together? I was at the Giants. I was a young coach. I thought, how are we going to compete with them? Dion's over there.
I remember that.
That team won 8 games or whatever. So listen, just put the work in. It's about the work. Woo.
Woo. I love it. Sean Payton's back.
Sean Payton with the hot fire, spitting hot fire.
I
loved it,
bro.
All right, so he's talking about the 2000 Washington team.
Yes. Who was all on that team? Was that Jason Taylor on that team too?
They were. I mean, Brad Johnson was the quarterback.
Yes.
Jeff George was the backup. Man, they had Steven Davis. Let's see.
Steven Davis.
Champ Bailey.
Bruce
Irvin
Smith.
Fryer.
Was Bruce Smith on that team?
Dion. LeVar Arrington.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Let's see. Who had the team in sacks that year?
I thought maybe
Trying to get down
Bruce
to
Smith was on
defense.
there as well. That was an all-star team, it seemed.
Yeah, Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson. Bruce Smith. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mark
there it is.
Carrier.
Wow. Yeah. I
Sean
told you, that was-
Barber. Let's see.
He had all the names.
I mean, that's a team.
They went 8-8.
8-8. That's what happens when the hype train gets you. I'm not surprised by Sean Payton speaking out. I'm not surprised at all because I think he's been around this league for so long. He's been around the Dallas Cowboys. He's been a part of, the hype train that is the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. Sorry, TJ, but it's true. There's certain things that coaches understand about how to run operations, how to run football. To me, it's the good coaches put it on themselves. Okay, you know what? I'm going to make sure we do things correct. I'm going to make sure I do things right. That's why this whole it's a give and take, fellas, because you have a guy who's old school, Sean Payton, that Bill Parcells coaching tree, right? You know what I mean? Been around some of the great coaches and hard-nosed, old school, how things are done. But yet you do have this new coaching tree of the Kyle Shanahans and O'Connells, McVays, Zach Taylors, Mike McDaniel, right? So you have the young versus the old. What actually works? What is getting through the head of the players, to the head of the players? And I look at what Sean Payton is coming in and saying, basically, we got to put in the work. I think so many times now in sports is everyone wins the game on paper. And then you get out there and you realize, oh, this is a lot harder than we thought. It's a lot harder than we expected. You just don't show up and they put Mark W down for you. No, you got to go out there and earn it. You got to do what it takes to win. And the margin in the National Football League, as we know, 3 points is a lot of points in the NFL. Yep. How many times do we see games end on Sunday on a field goal, a last-second touchdown? Very rarely do we see a team get beat by 14 or more points. The margin for error is so slim in the National Football League. I can tell you that as a former player. I've seen it go up 2 or 3 touchdowns and like, wow, and then get erased like that because you take your foot off the gas or one guy makes a mistake. You throw an interception, you have a fumble, you drop an interception. Sean Payton is putting a different perspective, a different mindset. Look, Nathaniel Hackett was a first-year head coach last year. And very quickly, you knew he was in over his head. It was just too much to handle. A lot of coaches are good coordinators. They know how to coach their group or their side of the football. Head coaches, CEOs, they got to watch it all. They got to see it all. Now, some have said, you know what, I'm still going to be a play caller and be a head coach, which you still can do. That's fine. But it is difficult. It is very difficult in today's NFL, I believe, to do both. It takes a strain on you. You have to relinquish some of your duties in order to get the pulse of a team. Last year, we saw that in Denver. It just never looked right. And it all culminated. I remember, took my son, first Rams game last year, took him to a game, Christmas Day, against the Denver Broncos. And if you would have told me that the Rams with Baker Mayfield would have hung, what was it? Was it 50 burger? Close to it.
Yeah.
What was it? It was bad.
It was bad.
I don't know.
That game too.
Yeah, it was just, he had the little slime head because it was like Nickelodeon slime, so he had the slime on. He was excited.
50 burger, 51-14.
Yeah.
A 50 burger on Christmas.
They gave him a gift.
Yeah. When Sean Payton says that was embarrassment, that's an embarrassment. That is embarrassing. You can't give up 50 points on Christmas. No. That leaves a mark. But it also gets the attention of the players and say, what was going on last year is unacceptable. And then the Jets weren't safe because he threw a little shot at the Jets too.
Yep.
He threw a shot at it. He said, I've been there. I know what it looks like. Everybody's talking how good you are. All the extra media attention. You got to go put the work in. You got to put the time in. You got to do the little things. Now I think Aaron Rodgers is a little bit different when it comes to that because he knows what it looks like. He knows the preparation. He knows when to maybe get under a guy, rip a guy, grab. I think that's in Aaron Rodgers. But when it comes to Denver, the leader of that team is no longer Russell Wilson. It's the head coach. There's some teams you always say you talk to the quarterback before you talk to the head coach. I don't have to worry about that now in Denver. It is all about the head coach, Sean Payton. It's not about Russell Wilson. It's not. I think Russell is going to be fine. He's going to have I think he's going to have a fantastic year. Maybe comeback player of the year. Can he be comeback player of the year, by the way? I know he didn't have an injury, but I think he could be comeback player of the year.
He's coming back from stinking.
He's coming back from, because like you said, everybody had some stink on him.
Yeah.
Everybody had some stink on him. But I think he can come back from it. I think he can come back and have a season in which could be a playoff team. They have an outstanding defense. Vance Joseph comes back to Denver, not as the head coach, but now as a defensive coordinator. They've got some pieces. They've got some guys that I'm looking to see how this team performs. I wouldn't be surprised if they leapfrog the Chargers.
Oh,
I wouldn't be surprised about that because, again, it's the hype train. I mentioned earlier, the Chargers have 6 standalone games, 6 primetime games. That's a lot. That's a lot. So what do you do? What do you do? Show it to me. I've told you earlier, you got to prove it to me. You got to prove it to me.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.